Well, for African Americans, really, the change from living in a segregated world to living in a less segregated world was the biggest change. In 1964, the Civil Rights Act passed, and so we went from being in a Jim Crow state to being in a state where it was okay to go into a restaurant and buy a meal, and there were no longer drinking fountains that were labeled colored or white. So it was a big change, and my generation was among the first to desegregate the schools. So I started off in segregated schooling, and then when I was in third grade, I was picked to integrate Patrick Henry Elementary School, which had formerly been all white. And I think I was picked because my dad was president of the PTA, and so, I was a good community representative. And so there was one other African-American child in my class, so there were just the two of us, and he broke his leg shortly after we arrived, so then it was just me. And that was a hard experience, I think. My classmates were having trouble getting used to me, I was having trouble getting used to my classmates, and I remember being called a nigger on the playground, and my grandfather used to drive up and pick me up from school every day, and he would park outside the building and watch to make sure that I was okay. And I'm just glad that he wasn't there the day that I was called a nigger, because I don't know what might have happened. He had a short fuse, and he might have done something to get the whole family into trouble if he had witnessed that incident. But luckily he didn't. And I survived, and I'm stronger for it, I think. But it was a very difficult time. Housing remained segregated for a long time. If you lived south of 16th Street in South Arlington, then you could purchase a home as an African American. We didn't have Hispanics then. For the most part, it was just black and white. And north of 16th Street, the banks would not lend to you, and you could not move into those neighborhoods. And that remained true for many, many years. My dad actually served on the Fair Housing Board, and they would send African American couples and white couples out to test to see if the housing barriers were beginning to come down. And so, a white couple would go in and ask if they could rent an apartment or apply for a loan, and then he would follow to find out if he could do it. And oftentimes there was a different reception for him than there was for the white couple. One of my earliest memories is seeing my dad on the front page of the Washington Post carrying a banner for the Catholic Interracial Council. And it was during the 1963 March on Washington, when the streets flooded with people who were trying to make changes. And somehow he got captured carrying that banner. And so I'll carry that image with me to my grave.